So, this is your first class with me. Please let me introduce myself. I am Sadia Akhtar Lima, working as a lecturer at MIST, and currently I am living at Mirpur 12, and I have completed my BS in Mathematics and MS in Mathematics from the University of Dhaka. And although this is your first class and it is your introductory class, but since we are conducting our class through online, so it is not possible to introduce yourselves all, right? So I just want to introduce with Seer because I will provide my class materials, Google Classroom password, and many informations regarding our today's class and future classes to Seer for your references. So who is your Seer of this class? Who is the Seer of this class?
Ajad. His name is Ajad.
Is he present or not?
He is not present, ma'am.
Not present. But I need the phone number and mail address of your seer. So anyone please help me in the chat box to write down the phone number and mail ID of your seer. It will be helpful for both of you and me because I will provide my Google Classroom password and lecture materials to him through mail. So please anyone write down your seer's phone number and email ID on the chat box. And there is some instruction for classes. Since this is our first class with you, so there are some instructions for you. I will not mute all of the participants. During my class time, I will not mute all of the participants. It's your duty to mute your device. It's your duty to mute your device by yourself, because if I mute all of the participants, then if you do not hear me, then you cannot inform me. And in that case, you face a problem. That's why I will not mute any participant, but it's a request for all of you, please mute your device by yourself. And the second one is, after joining this class, online class, you will write down your ID number on the chat box for your attendance. After joining the class, you will write down your ID number on the chat box, and from saving chat box, I will give your attendance in MCAM. So it's important to write down your ID number on the chat box, but only for one time, not more than one time. Okay. So there are two instructions only, nothing else. And please let me know what is the total number of students of your class. Is it 14? Total number of students. Basically, for conducting online class, I need your cooperations. Otherwise, it will not be enjoyable, right? So I expect that all of you cooperate with me. So what is the total number of participants or students of your class?
The number is supposed to be 6 to 10.
Okay. Since today is our first class, then we will not conduct our class deeply. I will try to give some basic idea of this course. And all of you know that the name of the course code of this course is Math 267, and it contains 4 parts: Fourier analysis, Laplace transform, harmonic functions, and complex variables. I will take section 1. And it contains Fourier analysis and Laplace transform. Now let me share the course materials. So students, can you see the slides? Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am. Little bit zoom.
Okay. Now is it okay? Now can you see it clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Your course title is basically Fourier analysis, Laplace transform, harmonic function, and complex variables. And it is divided into 2 sections. One is section A and another is section B. I will conduct section A, and it contains Fourier analysis and Laplace transform. And the credit number, total credit of this course is 4, and since it is divided into 2 sections, then my section will contain credit 2. So for first section or section A, the total credit is 2, and the credit for whole course with section A and section B, it will be 4. And at first, it contains 2 parts. One is Fourier analysis and the second one is Laplace transform. So at first, we will complete the part Fourier analysis, and after that, we will learn about Laplace transform. Here, this is your reference books. Fourier analysis with application to boundary value problem, sums outline series, and Laplace transform by the same series, sums outline series. This is your 2 reference books. First one for Fourier analysis and second one for Laplace transform. So since we will teach or learn about Fourier analysis at first, so this first textbook is necessary at present, and when we will learn about Laplace transform, then you need reference 2. And here this is the course schedule, nothing else. And this is your syllabus for Fourier analysis and Laplace transform. Okay. I will provide this course outline to your seer. So now I am sharing another slide. Can you see it? Here there is another slide. Are you seeing it or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Today I will give some basic idea about Fourier analysis, but before that, we should know why we will learn Fourier analysis and why it is necessary for you. Basically, using Fourier analysis, you can express any functions in terms of trigonometric functions. What is this? Suppose we are considering a function f of x is equal x squared, right? And by using Fourier analysis, we can express these functions in terms of the expression of trigonometric functions. And it is fixed for sin x and cos x. That means the function f of x is equal x squared can be expressed in terms of trigonometric functions sin x and cos x. And if you capable to express any functions by using Fourier analysis in terms of trigonometric functions, then you can test the convergence of that functions and checking the behavior very easily, because if you draw the graphical representation of trigonometric functions, you can understand the characteristics of that functions very easily. So our main purpose is to express any type of functions in terms of trigonometric functions of this course, Fourier analysis. And by using these topics, you can solve many boundary value problems. You can solve many types of boundary value problems. And all of you know that our everyday life can be expressed in terms of boundary value problems. So it is very important to solve a boundary value problem with better accuracy. And this course will help us to solve boundary value problem with better accuracy. And it also helps you to learn the physical interpretation of any problem. So at first, I will discuss about periodic functions. Basically, this is very important to know what is periodic function. Periodic functions, at first you have to consider a function, and I am here considering a function f of x, and it has a period that is p. That is p, and if a function has a period, then that function is known as periodic functions. But here there is a condition. Here there is a condition if f of x plus p is equal to f of x. If a function f of x satisfies this condition, f of x plus p is equal to f of x, in that case you can say that the function is a periodic function with period p. And here one thing is that the values of p will have to be greater than 0. The values of p will have to be greater than 0. That means here period will have to be positive. It cannot be negative. And you may get many periods for a function. But you have to consider the least value as fixed for any type of functions. I'm repeating again. I know that it is a totally new topic for you for periodic functions. Suppose we are considering a function f of x, and the function if satisfied this condition, f of x plus p is equal to f of x. If it satisfies this condition, then this type of function is known as periodic functions. And here basically p is known as period of that function. And p will have to be greater than 0. That means the values of period will have to be greater than 0. And if you get many values for p, then the least value, that means the lower value of p will be considered as the period of that functions. And you will understand properly by if you consider example. Here there is an example, the function if we consider f of x is equal sine x. Let's consider f of x is equal sine x. Then what will happen for f of x plus 2 pi? Sine x plus 2 pi will give sine x. Sine x plus 4 pi also gives sine x. Sine x plus 6 pi also gives sine x. So here we can see that the function sine x satisfied this condition, f of x plus p is equal to f of x. And here the values of p will be 2 pi, 4 pi, 6 pi. So we get 3 values for sine x, but here the least value is 2 pi. Here the least value is 2 pi. So here 2 pi will be the period of the function, and you may also call it as least period. Here there is another example. For sin nx and cos nx, the period will be 2 pi by n. For tan x, the period will be pi, and for constant function, you may consider any real number as period. But here, you have to know what is a constant function. Do you have any idea about constant function? Anyone have any idea about constant function? What is constant function? Okay, basically constant function, suppose you consider a function f of x is equal to, here 2 is fixed. It doesn't depends on the values of x. I'm repeating again, suppose we are considering a function f of x is equal to, here the value of function is 2, it is fixed. It does not change with the values of x. And this type of function is known as constant function. Again, you may consider f of x is equal 5, f of x is equals to 10, f of x is equal 100, f of x is equal 1000. It is fixed. It doesn't depend on the values of x. And these types of functions are known as constant functions. And for such type of functions, the period will be any positive number. For such type of functions, the period will be any positive number. Now I am repeating periodic functions again. At first we have to—
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
The email and the mobile number of CR is in the chat box.
Okay. At the last time of our class, I will save the chat box.
Yes,
Thank you for your cooperation. So at first we have to consider a function, and if that function satisfies this condition, f of x plus p is equal to f of x, then we can say that that function is a periodic function and the period will be p. And you may, as an example, you may consider these functions sin x and sin x plus 2 pi, sin x plus 4 pi, sin x plus 6 pi. All will give the same result, that is sin x. That is sin x. So here we can see that for 2 pi, for 4 pi, for 6 pi, the result is same, that is sin x, and it satisfied our given condition f of x plus p is equal to f of x. And for this reason, we can say here sin x is a periodic function, and the least value among 2 pi, 4 pi, 6 pi is 2 pi. So here 2 pi will be considered as the period of the function. And the next one is similar as like the first example. And here the last one is constant function. For any constant function, you may consider any real number as its period. Now here there are 3 examples. Excuse me, please mute your device. It's your online class, right? I can mute all of you participants, but in that case, if you cannot hear me, then you cannot inform me that you are not hearing me. That's why I am not muting all the participants. So please mute your device by yourself. It's your duty and responsibility. Okay. Now here I included 3 figures for understanding periodic functions. Here in the first figure, you can see that in the first figure, we get a straight line. We get a straight line as the graph of a function, and after a fixed period, the function is repeated. The graph is repeated after a fixed distance or period, and this distance is known as period. This distance is same, and this distance is known as period, and it is the graphical representation of a periodic function. Here the same thing happens for this second figure. The same thing happens for the second figure. Here the starting and ending point, the distance between the starting and ending point will be considered as period, and it is also a graphical representation of periodic functions, and the same thing happens for the last one. The same thing happens for the last one, and all of three figures are the periodic functions graphs. Now the most important thing is definition of Fourier series. Since we are working or we are learning about Fourier analysis, so in that case, it's a very important topic, definition of Fourier series. At first, we have to know what is Fourier series. Then we have to express a given function into Fourier series. So what is this? You have to know what is Fourier series, and after that, you have to express a function into Fourier series. Here, f of x, the function f of x be defined in the interval minus L to L, and you can see that here this interval is open, right? Here this interval is open. So we consider a function f of x in an open interval from minus L to L. And the function will have to be periodic outside of the interval. It is the precondition for expressing a function into Fourier series. It is the precondition. The function will have to be defined in an open interval, and it will have to be periodic function outside of the period. The Fourier series or Fourier expression of the function f of x will be like this. A naught divided by 2 plus summation n is equal 1 to infinity an cos n pi x by L plus bn sin n pi x by L. This is the Fourier series of any functions. This is the Fourier series of any functions where a specific expression for an and a specific expression for bn. What is this? N is equal 1 by L, integration, lower limit is minus L, upper limit is L. And this upper and lower limit have to be taken from your given interval. Have to be taken from your given interval minus L to L. F of x cos n pi x by L into dx, and the same thing for bn. 1 by L minus L to L f of x sin n pi x by L dx. That means here an contains the expressions for cos x or the trigonometric functions cos, and bn takes the expressions for the trigonometric function sin. And here the values of n will be 0 to uppercase. Now here n and bn have some specific expression, and these are known as Fourier coefficients. These are known as Fourier coefficients.
Sir, I didn't understand the definition.
Okay. For expressing, basically this is the definition of Fourier series. At first we have to consider a function. Suppose we are considering a function f of x. But for expressing these functions into Fourier series, there is a precondition. That means the function will have to be defined in the interval minus L to L. Here it can be minus pi to pi, it can be minus pi by 2 to pi by 2, anything else. But it will have to be defined into an open interval, and it will have to be periodic function. It will have to be periodic function outside of your given interval, right? Outside of your given interval. And from interval minus L to L, you will get the period that will be 2L. That will be 2L. If your interval is from minus pi to pi, the period will be 2 pi. And the Fourier expression and the Fourier series expression here, this expression is fixed. You can take it as the notation of Fourier series, okay, as the notation of Fourier series. That is a naught by 2 plus summation of n is n to infinity n cos n by x by L plus bn sin n by x by L. Okay. Now is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So here this expression is fixed for Fourier series. For Fourier series, this expression is fixed. And here you can see that there is a name of n and bn. Here basically n is the coefficient for this term and bn is the coefficient for this term. And n and bn have some specific expression. This is the fixed expression for an, and this is the fixed expression for bn. And these two expressions are known as Fourier coefficients. Basically, for expressing any functions in Fourier series, you have to memorize this expression. You have to memorize this expression because this is fixed. It is fixed, it doesn't vary. It is fixed, so you have to memorize this expression. And here n and bn have specific expression, that is n is equal this and bn is equal this. Okay, now is it okay? I think. And here an and bn, these specific expressions are known as Fourier coefficients. There is another expression for Fourier coefficients. Here an is equal like this and bn is equal this. It is similar. It is similar. There is a change in the limit of integration. Here it is considered as 1 by L integration c to c plus 2L, right? F of x cos n by x by L dx. 1 by L integration c to c plus 2L f of x sin n by x by L dx. Basically, this is also a Fourier coefficients, and this expression is as similar as the upper one. There is a little bit change, that is here the limit is from minus L to L and here the limit is from c to c plus 2L. But if you consider the interval minus L to L, it will be similar as the previous one. By how? Let's consider here c is equal minus L. If you put here c is equal minus L, then you will get here L2 plus L. If you use here c is equal minus L, then you will get minus L2 minus L plus 2L, that means plus L. So it will give the same thing as the previous one. The interval will be minus L to L if you consider c is equal minus L. And there is a fixed expression for a0 by 2. In your definition, you can see that there is a first constant term, a0 by 2. Here, basically, a0 by 2 is a constant term since it doesn't contain any trigonometric functions. So, you may consider a0 by 2 as constant term. And the fixed expression for constant term will be a0 by 2 is equal 1 by 2L integration minus L to L f of x dx. And it is known as mean of the function over a period. Here the constant term a0 by 2 is equal 1 by 2L minus L to L f of x. It is fixed and this is known as mean of the given function over a period. So now there is another condition which is known as Dirichlet condition. Here it is nothing, a very simple conditions here it is, and this type of conditions are known as Dirichlet condition. Here at first you have to consider the function is defined. At first you have to consider that the function is defined and single valued except possibly at a finite number of points in the interval. I know that it is a new topic, but we have to learn, right? So at first we have to consider a function f of x, and the condition is the function will have to be defined and single valued function. I think all of you know what is single valued function, but I will again repeating. Basically, single valued function means if we get a unique value for each point of your domain. What is single valued functions? If you get a unique value of your function for each point in your domain, then that type of function is known as single valued functions. Suppose f of x is equals to x. Okay. So if you consider x is equal 1, the value of the function will be 1. If you consider x is equal to, the value of the function will be 2. So here we can see that for a specific value of x, you get a unique value of your function. So you may consider this as a single valued function. So our first condition is the function will have to be defined and single valued function except a finite number of points in the interval. And the period of that function will be 2L. When you consider the interval from minus L to L, then your period will be 2L. That means if you subtract your lower limit from the upper limit, you will get the period. I'm repeating again, if you subtract your lower limit from the upper limit, you will get the period. And the third condition is the function f of x and its first derivative. The function and its first derivative are piecewise continuous in our considered open interval. So here, I think all of you know that what is piecewise continuous. Is there any confusion about piecewise continuous? If so, then I will explain. Okay. Basically, piecewise continuous means here our interval is from -L to L. But if we divide this interval into a finite number of sub-interval, and if our given function is continuous in that sub-intervals, this type of functions is known as piecewise continuous. I'm repeating again. At first here, our given interval is from -L to L. But if it is possible to divide this interval into a finite number of sub-interval, and if the function is continuous in those sub-intervals, then this type of functions is known as piecewise continuous. And our third condition is if the function and its first derivative are piecewise continuous in the interval, then these two outcomes happen. Here, if these three conditions is possible or satisfied, then these two outcomes happen. The first one is the series one, that means our expression of Fourier series. Here, series one means the expression of Fourier series. This expression is considered here as equation 1 or series 1. If these three conditions satisfied, then series 1 will converge to f of x if x is a point of continuity. That means here there are two outcomes for the series 1, and the first one is series 1 will converge to the function f of x. That means series 1 will be equal to function f of x. Here converse means series 1 is equivalent to the function f of x if x is a point of continuity. If here the function f is continuous at the point x, then the series 1 converges to f of x. But if x is a point of discontinuity, then what will happen? If x is a point of discontinuity, then the series 1 will converge with f of x plus 0 plus f of x minus 0 divided by 2. Now we can say that here f of x plus 0 and f of x minus 0 are the similar things. Basically here f of x plus 0 means the right hand limit of the function at x is equal to 0, and here f of x minus 0 means the left hand limit of the function at x is equal to 0. And here this is the mean value of left hand limit and right hand limit is expressed by this f of x plus 0 plus f of x minus 0 divided by 2. So we get the Dirichlet condition as like here three condition is given.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Can you please describe the point 1 and 2 again, madam? Condition.
I will repeat it. After completing this topic, I will repeat it again. So at first, if it satisfies these three conditions, then the series 1, which I included in the previous slides. Here, basically, this is known as series 1. It will converge to f of x if x is a point of continuity. But what will happen for if x is a point of discontinuity? It will be equal to f of x plus 0 plus f of x minus 0 divided by 2. That is the mean value of the left hand limit and right hand limit of the function at the point x is equal to 0. Now I am explaining the previous conditions, three conditions again. The first one is the function will have to be defined and have to be single valued functions. Single valued functions, except at a finite number of points in the interval. That means it is not defined and single valued functions at each point of your interval. It is defined and single valued functions except a finite number of points. So it is not necessary that the function will be defined and single valued function at each point of your domain. It is not necessary. It happens that it is defined and single valued functions at some points of your domain. Then it's okay. It is not necessary is that the function will have to be defined and single valued function at each point of your domain. It is not necessary. That's why it has been written that f of x is defined and single valued except possibly at a finite number of points from -L to L. Okay. And from our open interval, we can get the period. We can get the period. If you subtract the lower limit, that is minus L, from the upper limit, we will get our period. If we subtract minus L from the upper limit L, here lower limit is minus L, our limit is L of our interval, right? Starting point is minus L, ending point is plus L of your interval. And now if you subtract your initial point from the end point, that means L minus minus L, you will get 12. So after subtracting your lower limit from the upper limit, you will get the period, that is 12. And the third one is the function and its first derivative will have to be piecewise continuous in our open interval. Now is it okay? Someone is asking problem regarding condition 1 and 2.
Yes,
Now
ma'am.
okay, thank you.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. So here these are two outcomes, right? When x is a point of continuity, then we can write f of x is equal the series 1. Basically, this is the first output of Dirichlet condition. If the series 1 converges to f of x, if x is a point of continuity. If this condition is obtained, then we can write f of x is equal a0 by 2 plus this. So series 1 converges to f of x. So we can say it will happen when x is a point of continuity. But if x is not a point of continuity, then what will happen? Then this series a0 by 2 plus summation of infinity n is equal to 1 to infinity n cos n by x by l plus bn sin n by x by l. This series will be equal to this part, f of x plus 0 plus f of x minus 0 by 2. So you can write your series is equal f of x if x is a point of continuity, but when x is not a point of continuity, then you have to write this series in the right side, and left side you have to write down this f of x plus 0 plus f of x minus 0 by 2. And good thing is that, these three condition is sufficient but not necessary. Is sufficient but not necessary. And now we may ask, what is the meaning of sufficient but not necessary? Here the meaning of sufficient but not necessary is that if these three conditions is satisfied, then it is fixed that the function or the series will be convergent. But if it is not satisfied, then it may converge or not. This is known as sufficient but not necessary. I'm repeating again. Here these conditions are sufficient but not necessary. Here sufficient but not necessary means if these three conditions are satisfied, then it is guaranteed that the series will converge to f of x. It is guaranteed. But if they are not satisfied, then it may happen or not. Then it may converge or not. It is not guaranteed. And this type of conditions are known as sufficient but not necessary. And here it is not discovered the necessary and sufficient condition. Here this is the conditions necessary but not sufficient. Sorry, sufficient but not necessary. These conditions are known as sufficient but not necessary. And yet it is not discovered the sufficient and necessary conditions. And in our science and engineering sections, all functions are generally thought that they satisfy these three conditions. In our science and engineering sections, all functions are generally satisfied these three conditions. So when we will clarify our numerical example, then it will not necessary to check these three conditions, because in our science and engineering sections, most of the problems satisfy these three conditions, and for this reason, for our numerical example, it is not to check these three conditions. It's a good thing for us, right? Now the last one, odd and even function. And I know that all of you have learned about odd and even functions in your level 1 Charman section, right? It's a very simple thing, and you have already learned about odd and even function in your differential calculus, I think so. So at first, but still I am repeating about odd function and even function. Suppose f of x is a function, and if it satisfies the condition f of minus x is equal minus f of x. If a function satisfies this condition, f of minus x is equal minus f of x, then this type of functions is known as odd functions. This type of function is known as odd functions. And As example, you can consider x cube, x to the power 5 minus 3x cube plus 2x sin x, tan x, etc. And you may consider, let's consider sin x. And if you replace x by minus x, you will get minus sin x, right? For taking these odd functions, let's consider f of x is equal to sin x. Now replace x by minus x and you will get sin minus x, which will produce minus sin x. So we get minus f of x. Again, you can consider x cube, replace x by minus x, you will get minus x cube. That means minus f of x. So these type of functions are known as odd functions. And in Fourier series, there is a specific expression for odd functions. And there is a specific expression for even functions. Okay, so for odd and even functions, there are some specific expressions for Fourier series. And that's why it is necessary to learn which one is odd function and which one is even function. Now come to the point for even function. If the function satisfies the condition f of minus x is equal to f of x, then we call that the function is even function. Now consider here x as f of x is equal to x to the power 4 and replace x by minus x. If you replace x by minus x in the function x to the power 4, if you replace x by minus x in the function x to the power 4, you will get the same function. You will get the same function x to the power 4, that is f of x. So we can see that if we replace x by minus x in these functions, we get the main function f of x. So this is the function even function. This type of functions are known as even functions. Basically here sin x is known as odd function and cos x is known as even functions. And for odd functions, there is a fixed and a specific expression of Fourier series that is known as half-range Fourier sine series. And for even function, there is a fixed and a specific expression of Fourier series that is known as half-range Fourier cosine series. In our next class, I will discuss about half-range Fourier sine series and half-range Fourier cosine series. But one thing is that when a function is even function, then we can express them as half-range Fourier cosine series. And when a function is odd function, we can express this as half-range Fourier sine series. So there is a relation with sine series with odd functions, and there is a relation with even function and half-range cosine Fourier series. Okay. And we are at the end of our today's class. But students, if you have any problem regarding our today class, then you may ask. Now I will save the attendance. I think all of you have written your ID number, right? I think all of you have written your ID number in the chat box. I am saving the attendance.
আপনার গুগল ক্লাসরুমের কোডটা এবং ম্যাম এই রেকর্ডিংটা ম্যাম ওখানে গুগল ক্লাসরুমে দিয়ে দিলে ম্যাম বেটার হয় আমাদের জন্য।
Obviously, I will provide the class materials, lecture video, class record, and my email address in the Google Classroom, and I provided these informations to your CR. Okay, I will provide these informations to your CR. So I'm saving your attendance now. So students, regarding our today's class, if you have any query or any problem, then you may ask. Otherwise, today we will stop our class. If any problem, then you may ask.
Piecewise continuous জিনিসটা আরেকবার একটু বলুন।
Please repeat your question again. I didn't hear you.
Then can you discuss about the piecewise continuous?
Okay, piecewise continuous. For piecewise continuous, suppose you have we are differentiating or we are taking a function continuous or not in an interval, and you may consider the interval minus L to L. Suppose the function f of x is continuous in an interval minus L to L. Now, if you divide the whole interval into a finite number of sub-intervals, if you divide the interval minus L to L into a finite number of subintervals, and if the function is also continuous in those subintervals. If the function is also continuous in those subintervals, then this type of function is known as piecewise continuous. I'm repeating again. Suppose we are conducting a function f of x and the function is continuous in an interval minus L to L. Now, if we divide the interval minus L to L into a finite number of subintervals, and if the function is also continuous in those subintervals, then that function is known as piecewise continuous functions. Now, is it okay? Now, is it okay or not?
Example of the sub intervals.
Example, suppose we are considering a function on the interval minus 5 to 5, right? Now, if we divide it from minus 5 to minus 4 to minus 1 to plus 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 5. These are the subintervals. These are the subintervals. Again, you consider from interval minus 3 to 3. Suppose we are considering an interval from minus 3 to 3. Now we want to divide it into subintervals. Now we can consider minus 3 to minus 2, minus 2 to minus 1, minus 1 to plus 1, 1 to 3. All of them are subintervals of minus 3 to 3. Have you got your answer?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So I'm ending out today's class. Thank you everyone for joining out today's class. Allah Hafiz.